Okay, we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. My name is Elizabeth McFadden, and I'm here with April Beach today. I'm back from vacay and back on Scale with Strategy, which I listened to your talk last week, April, and it was so good.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun last week.
That was a really good one. So today we are talking about here on Scale with Strategy, we're talking about what's sinking your brand's credibility. Which there's a lot of that going on. So I have identified 5 things that, there are a lot of things that can sink your brand's credibility, but for this 15-minute talk, I'm going to talk about 5 things. And I will also add to this the link to our Mini Digital Brand Audit, and you can also grab that link from the homepage of novellabrandhouse.com website. If you are wondering after this talk, am I sinking my brand's credibility? But the Mini Digital Brand Audit's a great way to look at that. Okay, so the first thing, and this is almost, I feel like probably scaling or established businesses, I would hope, do not have this problem or not doing this, but definitely I see a lot of startups doing it or just a lot of young companies. A dead giveaway that you are not a professional brand is if you are using a Gmail or a Yahoo or, God forbid, a Hotmail email address. Am I right?
At AOL.com.
Again, although I say I don't see scaling or established businesses doing this, but if it's like, it could be a really successful, maybe like 1 or 2 person, I don't know, business, and somebody is still using a Hotmail or a Gmail account. Don't do that. One of the very first things, first of all, one of the very first things you do when you create your name, create your brand is, grab your URL. A lot of times, sometimes even the URLs that are available might even drive how the name that you create, right? But get a branded domain. There's tons of places out there to get them, okay? And set up an email account that you're using your at branded domain, okay? Using a Gmail or Hotmail, whatever, Yahoo, whatever it is, for your business emails is a dead giveaway that you're not a pro brand. And it really it sinks your brand credibility. People think, well, this isn't professional, and they move on. Okay, number 2, if your brand is inconsistent, like, and across anything digital, across anything that you might have, like in physical form, like if you're handing out brochures or you're showing, a slide deck or a business card, to social media, to a website, if your brand is inconsistent, that also says to somebody that this is not professional. And that also too is sinking your brand's credibility. And, ways that your brand could be inconsistent are if you're using a ton of different fonts or typefaces, like you don't have a style guide established for your brand. The style guide can be really simple. It's like, here's your logo. Here are maybe the different variations of your logo. Here are the color palette that we use, these 2 colors, these 5 colors, whatever that might be, and these fonts, these typefaces that we use. And I see it in messaging as well. If that is inconsistent, if one place you say, well, we do this and we're great at this, and then another place you're saying something else. For one thing, people get confused. And so that just sinks your brand's credibility because they don't know what to know you for. They don't really understand what you do. It also kind of says you don't understand what you do, right? And then just from a visual standpoint, people really judge a brand by its cover. Just like they judge a book by its cover, right? They judge a brand by its cover. And I feel like they're even more judgmental, if they see a brand that's just not consistent. Plus, the more consistent that you can be with your brand, that helps you build brand awareness. So every time that you're not being consistent with your brand, it just, again, just sinks that credibility. It just, you're hurting yourself in terms of, being memorable, being remembered. So that's number two. Number three, and April, this is one I know you're going to jump in on because we talk about it a lot. You talk about it a lot. But people that are not niching down. I think you're on mute.
I'm on mute going, yeah.
Okay.
It's scary. I mean, that's why people don't do it. Because if they feel they're afraid they're going to get stuck, they feel like, well, I don't, they're in indecision about that. They're afraid they're going to get stuck, or they don't know if they're going to be happy there with that one group of people, because there's all these other things that they can do, but there's all these other things that all of us can do. It is the golden arrow to make more money faster is by choosing a very specific niche audience and problem that you're solving, at least at first, and then you grow out of it.
Right. And you make such a great point. People get scared because they don't want to leave money on the table. They don't want to leave business that they could be doing. And yes, if you're just getting started, sometimes you do maybe take projects, or you do work with clients or customers that, like, yes, you can service them, and yes, you maybe sell that type of a product, but it's not really, your kind of your core niche. But if that means that's what's getting your business up and running, and great. But what we're really talking about here are businesses that are scaling or trying to scale. And so you need to be known for something. Yeah. And again, when you're known for something, that just, it lends itself to credibility, because you're credible in this particular space for this particular service. And not only does it help you, again, just be known for something when, or if people are saying, hey, do you know a person that can help me with this? It's like, you're that person that people always recommend. You're that company, that brand that's somebody's go-to for a recommendation for something. But also if you're a jack of all trades, or, you're, a mile wide, an inch deep, right? Again, people start to think, well, how good is this brand, right? How good is their product? How good is their service? And April, you always talk about the transformation, especially when it's a service business, right? What's that transformation that your service is helping that person happen, create, or going through? And all of that builds to your credibility as a solid brand, as somebody that delivers, and a way to, really kind of own that is niching down. And I will say this. So Novella Brandhouse is a branding focused full service ad agency. We do a lot of things here. What we're known for, what we lead with, what we're super duper good at is brand strategy. And so that's just an example where you can still offer more things. But what is that niche that you're going to own? Like, what's that credibility that your brand is going to be known for? Okay. Number 4, know, like, trust. And the thing I want to really focus on here is the trust aspect. If your potential clients or customers, or just people in general, don't have trust in your brand, again, that's something that I see sinking a company's brand. If your brand, and I think even like taking this a step further, if your brand or the thought leadership promoting your brand has trust issues, that's sinking your brand because of social media, and really even PR before that. But, in this age of social media, and there's so many different, aspects and places where a brand can be seen on social media, or even, thought leaders representing that brand. If there are trust issues with that, then that really starts to hurt a brand's credibility, because now people are like, oh, well, this person's associated with this brand, and they're kind of a hack. And April, this is something we've talked about a lot, because I think probably in both of our industries there's a lot of this. But again, just being mindful of you know, is your brand a trusted brand? And I think that's a question that a lot of people should ask. You know, not is my brand successful? You know, not are we making a lot of money? Because you could be making a lot of money, but none of those are return customers type of thing. But is my brand a trusted brand in the industry? And if it's not, even if you're making a lot of money right now, that's going to catch up with you and destroy your brand. And you know, your competition may even start to kind of pounce on that a little bit. The other side of that is if there are, you know, sort of, I call it thought leadership, but it could really be anybody that is using their personal brand to help, you know, build the brand of a company. If they have trust issues, you know, that again detracts from your brand's credibility. And it's, you know, you hear a lot of people talking about, you know, before somebody buys from you or buys your product, they've got to know about you, they've got to like you, and they've got to trust you. And that trust aspect is so important. Because it keeps people buying from you. It keeps those customers with you. And your customers really become your best brand navigators. And so again, you know, if your brand is not trusted in the industry or among your customers or clients or potential, you know, target audience, then you know, that's another way you're sinking your brand's credibility.
And Liz, can I just pipe into that a little bit? Because you're saying, you know you, like you, and trust you. So I just want to give you guys who are watching this just some like really quick tips on how to fix each one of those. Know you, that comes into your networking, your relationship building, being referred. Like how well are you doing building relationships with other businesses and other people that can refer to you? That's really, I mean, we can become known through social media, but that it's so superficial, right? Like we have to do these, we really need that additional kind of like somebody else knows you. Number one, like you, right? What are you doing in order to build a relationship with your audience? So the know you is the referral or finding you someplace else. The like you, like, do they really like you? Like you guys are watching this live stream and you're deciding whether or not you like us. It's part of,
Right.
this is it, right? So and you'll know, you either like us or you don't, and that's okay, right? What are you doing in your business in order to build a relationship so people can choose whether or not they actually really love the stuff that you're doing and then trust you? A great way with trust is, like Elizabeth was saying, being really consistent. She was referring to like brand colors, but also showing up consistently. But another way is also sharing case studies, not necessarily just like testimonies, but actually case studies of transformations you gave to other people, because that develops trust too. So just if anybody was watching, like there's a million ways you can do this, but those are 3 suggestions.
Yeah, and I think that showing what you do, and not just talking about the awards that maybe you've won or this, that, or the other, but really showing case studies or the work or however you can do that. I feel like that maybe case studies for some companies not as good as another way, but really showing that what you're doing and talking about goes a long way. And again, that can build trust. And I think if you are doing nothing but self-promotion, nothing but promotion, but not really showing, that the work that can be done, again, erodes that brand credibility.
Right. And like Amy said, also through live video for online brands.
Yes.
And
I mean,
they like you.
Yeah. And April, I think that's a great point, because you are completely in the online space.
Mm-hmm.
And, there is networking and relationship building, but it's different than, me going to the Kansas City Chamber events and building relationships in person. And so all these different things that we're talking about, really, really play into, I think people don't think about, well, of course, in my opinion, as a brand expert, they don't pay enough attention to their brand, or they're just basing things on sales or maybe how many likes they have or followers.
Right.
When at the end of the day, if you're not growing a business, I feel like if you're not even growing your current customer base and keeping those customers, you may have a brand credibility issue.
Yeah.
Which really goes to trust. Okay, so we are at 15. So my last thing is brand experience. If you are not delivering on that brand promise that you promise to people, right? And if you're not actually delivering on that in the brand experience, or if you're like an e-commerce product and they get it and they're like, this is nothing what I was supposed to get. Or if they go through an online course or they're in a program and it's nothing what they've been sold, now you have credibility issues. And that's another thing that I see so many companies focus on. They want to be a certain brand, or they want to be a company, or they start mimicking in their marketing what their competitors are doing. But that is really, they never deliver on that. Customers that feel like they didn't get what they were supposed to get, or they are unhappy, are going to talk and spread negativity about your brand much faster than those that are like super happy and they love you, than your super fans. So really, really making sure that you deliver on that brand promise is important to make sure that your brand has the most credibility possible. Amy says, I feel like personable brands are also trumping case studies and showcasing accolades too in 2022. People want that personal brand experience now more than ever, even if it's a larger established company. Absolutely. That is great. And I've seen some, in fact, we have a client who they have grown this company. It's now a multi-million-dollar company. And she's like, I've had to make this switch back from being this big company to like just being, they are a big company. She doesn't step down from that, but she's much more forward with, I'm the owner, I'm a person, I'm representing this, because at the end of the day, they feel like they're buying from her, even though she has this huge team. They have warehouses, they're across the country, but she's like, people feel like they're buying from me. So great point. I'll leave it at this. All of this applies to a personal brand as well, especially if you're the owner of a company or you're one of the executives and you utilize your personal brand to build the company brand. All of these things apply. So I'm going to just quickly run through the list and we'll close it out. Number 1, dead giveaway that you're not a pro brand. If you're using as your business email address something that's a Yahoo, a Gmail, or Hotmail. Okay, if you're that far out of it, right? Okay. Number 2, your brand is not consistent. So you're not using consistent fonts, colors, logo, messaging across absolutely everything. That's digital and offline. Number 3, you don't have a niche. You have not niched down. You're trying to be everything to everybody. Number 4, the trust factor. The trust is a little faulty. You're not very trustful. Okay, that's going to sink your company brand. And number 5 way of not delivering on credibility is not delivering on your brand promise. All right.
I want to have like one of those sound effects. Bada, bada, boom. I got to play with this and figure it out. Okay.
Yes. Yes. All right. Thanks everybody for joining. And April, you've got it next week. Do you know off the top of your head the topic?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Something
well,
with licensing, I'm sure something cool like that.
Something awesome. It'll be amazing.
With selling your programs to companies. Something cool like that.
Something cool. Awesome, guys. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.